A Vaughan home hit by gunfire for the second time in weeks. Police say 5 people were inside at the time, including 3 children. Good afternoon. Residents once again left rattled after a house was shot at early this morning near Bathurst and Major Mackenzie Drive.
Vaughan Mayor Stephen Del Duca spoke this morning about this latest incident and a string of other homes that have been targeted recently. CTV's Janice Golding is live at the scene with more. Janice.
Hi, Nathan. Yes, I can tell you that neighbors here on Farrell Road are quite unnerved today after this house was fired on twice in the last month. Now, police say they received multiple reports of the sound of gunshots just after 3:30 a.m. When they arrived in the Bathurst and Major Mac area, they found a residence pocked by bullet holes. Now, this is the second time in recent weeks the home has been subject to gunfire. On September the 6th, shots were fired on the home, and then the next morning, another nearby home was also shot at. In fact, York Regional Police and Vaughan's mayor say these shootings involving unknown suspects have happened several times in this general area, as well as in the city's West End of late. Here is reaction.
We need to identify these suspects. And again, just pointing out, there have been 5 shootings so far this month, twice at this home. I can understand that we understand that the community does feel unsafe, but it is important to understand that these are targeted and specifically targeted between individuals. I know that doesn't bring a lot of safety when this is going on so much within one neighborhood. However, this is not a random act.
Well, we heard something last night. It was after 4, before 5. It was a loud banging noise. I've never heard gunshots, so I didn't know what it was.
You know, that close to our house, and I don't know much about the reasoning behind it. You know, I don't want to speculate. I don't know if it's targeted, random, whatever, but one thing I do know, it's a rental, so who knows?
I don't know as mayor what else to say to our residents except that I am very, very frustrated with the fact that we continue to struggle with criminals and crime here in our city, a city that I've lived in for close to 40 years, a city that in my experience has always been safe.
As Stephen Del Duca, the city's mayor, is calling on the federal government to toughen bail laws, saying that we need to do better to keep criminals off the streets. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. A pedestrian's in life-threatening condition after being struck in Brampton this morning. Peel police say it happened at Torbram Road and East Drive just after 6. The pedestrian was taken to a trauma center with life-threatening injuries. The driver remained on the scene, and police are asking commuters to avoid the area.
Meantime, a pedestrian is fighting for their life in hospital after being struck by a vehicle in Riverdale. This happened shortly before 8:30 last night in the area of Pape and Lipton Avenues. Initially, the driver involved left the scene, but later returned. Police have not provided details on possible charges. The investigation is ongoing. A motorcyclist is dead following a crash in Markham. This happened shortly before 6:30 last night in the area of Major Mackenzie Drive and Resor Road. York Regional Police say the motorcycle collided with a pickup truck. The rider was taken to hospital with serious injuries. They were later pronounced dead. The Major Collision Investigation Unit is looking into this crash.
We have more news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city this afternoon. Still a little bit wet, cloudy, but still comfortable, and even a little humid for this first week of fall. There's also a chance of showers throughout the rest of the day, so bear that in mind if you're heading outside. Lindsay Morrison is here with how things are right now. We've got some rain to deal with.
We do, Nathan. Depending on which part of Ontario our viewers may be joining us from, it's quite stormy this hour between areas like Goderich and Kincardine. We've got some shower activity east of there, a few sprinkles in eastern Muskoka, and a lot of wet weather along the north shore of Lake Erie. There's a closer look at some of the stronger storms right now, although it's in the southwest around Colchester and Harrow where there is a severe thunderstorm warning in place. So once again, another very active day. Winds right now are coming from the east. They're light in nature. It's not as muggy right now as it's been the last couple of days, but it's still a bit sticky out there. 21 degrees feels like 27, and we've already reached our forecast daytime high for today. So you can expect more of this as we progress through the afternoon and evening. It's been a pretty unsettled week. When does the sun return for an extended period of time? We'll show you coming up in your 7-day forecast. But for now, Michelle, I'll send it over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Turning now to safety concerns for TTC transit users. The mayor announcing today crisis workers will be embedded on subway platforms to help address issues.
The move is part of a pilot project aimed at making the TTC safer. CTV's Allison Hurst is live at Wellesley Station with more details on this. Allison.
Nathan, this pilot program puts those crisis workers, makes them available 24/7 to respond to any issues, be them safety or security, that are reported across the TTC. The Toronto Community Service Crisis service workers will be embedded on TTC platforms across La U or Line 1. They will be stationed at Spadina, Union, and Bloor Young stations and will respond to calls throughout the U that are made by users through the Safe TTC app, by talking to CTC staff, or calling 211. Officials say cell service is now available at all platforms and across 75% of the system.
Today, I am announcing that the Toronto Crisis Services will be in TTC station, offering appropriate expert care to people experiencing mental health illness and keeping riders safe at the meantime. We'll have highly visible crisis workers in uniform on the subway to help riders to deal with or respond to those other riders who may be experiencing a mental health crisis.
The pilot program begins on November 15th. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Allison. A new poll suggests there isn't widespread support for scrapping school board trustees in this province. 33% of those surveyed by Abacus Data on behalf of CUPE Ontario say they support eliminating elected trustees. 36% oppose the measure, and 25% are unsure. Education Minister Paul Calandra is in the midst of reviewing school board governance and is looking at doing away with the position of trustee. The survey also found 57% of respondents agreed the main problem facing Ontario schools was a lack of funding and that trustees provide accountability.
The Minister of Education's office released a statement to CTV News that reads, Minister Calandra has been clear the current school board governance structure is based on an outdated system that needs to be modernized. Our focus is to provide students with better outcomes and teachers and educators with the tools they need to help students succeed.
Calls to remove Public Safety Minister Gary Ananda's grow louder after leaked audio where he can be heard questioning the federal gun buyback program he oversees.
CTV News chief political correspondent Vashi Capello spoke to the minister about whether there's a way forward for the initiative.
If the public safety minister in charge of implementing the program can't explain its justification, why should Canadians accept one?
So this is a conversation that took, it was a 20-minute conversation, 20 minutes or so conversation. It was recorded without my knowledge. Notwithstanding that, much of the conversation were part of previous conversations I've had with this individual. The logic of this, I know he does not accept. I have tried to explain this in the past. We have not been able to agree on it, so that's why I dismissed it as such. I believe in the program. I ran on this program.
The minister has said Ottawa is determined to remove assault-style guns from Canada's streets, but he stressed the buyback program is a voluntary one. Last night at the UN General Assembly, the Prime Minister was asked about the fallout.
I have confidence in the minister. He's doing important work. He's got a lot of important work this session of Parliament, including legislation on borders and others.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has been a critic of the Liberal steps to limit access to several thousand models of firearms, saying they unfairly impact law-abiding gun owners and do nothing to prevent violence by criminals. He says the public safety minister, quote, accidentally told the truth and, quote, was recorded doing it. The world's most powerful tropical cyclone of the year slammed ashore in southern China today after 17 people died in Taiwan. Typhoon Gaza also lashed Hong Kong with ferocious winds and heavy rain. The typhoon is tracing towards Wyoming and one of China's biggest oil refining cities. China's Marine Authority has issued its highest red wave warning for the first time this year, forecasting storm surges of up to 2.8 meters in parts of Guangdong province.
Developing news out of Texas, where there's been a shooting at a federal immigration facility in Dallas. Law enforcement officials told ABC that 3 detainees were shot and at least 1 has died in what's being called a targeted act of violence. The shooter died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Officials are still trying to figure out the motive. This is the third shooting at an immigration center in Texas this year. In July, a police officer was shot in the neck during an attack. He survived. Jimmy Kimmel making an emotional return on ABC after a week-long suspension over his comments on the Charlie Kirk shooting.
Kimmel was somber but defiant in his opening monologue, clarifying his comments while noting an outpouring of support from fellow comedians, including from some countries with severe restrictions on free speech.
Our freedom to speak is what they admire most about this country. And that's something I'm embarrassed to say I took for granted until they pulled my friend Stephen off the air and tried to coerce the affiliates who run our show in the cities that you live in to take my show off the air. That's not legal. That's not American. That is un-American, and it is so dangerous.
On his first show back, Kimmel said it was never his intention to make light of the murder of Charlie Kirk. He also praised Kirk's widow for forgiving the man who allegedly killed her husband. While ABC did bring Kimmel's show back, the two biggest owners of ABC affiliates kept up their boycott of the show.
There was quite an effective pushback to his being, off the air for a week there. That Disney stock went down. A lot of people canceling their Disney Plus subscriptions, including Howard Stern. You heard from people all over the place, a lot of famous people and a lot of just regular folks saying enough is enough. We live in the United States, a land of free speech, and this guy's a comedian and he gets to do this.
U.S. President Donald Trump also reacted to Kimmel's return, lashing out at ABC for bringing him back and threatening once again to sue the broadcaster. Activists on a flotilla carrying aid to Gaza say some of their boats were attacked by drones overnight. They were sailing in international waters south of Greece when they say they were struck by unidentified drones and communications jammers. The group reported at least 13 explosions on and around several vessels and say drones dropped unidentified objects on at least 10 others. Nobody was hurt, but several boats were damaged. Italy condemned the attack and activated a Navy frigate to be on hand for possible rescue operations. Israel has said it won't allow the vessels to reach Gaza. It didn't comment on whether it was responsible for the drones. A loss last night didn't help the Toronto Blue Jays in their quest to clinch the AL East.
But fans aren't giving up hope the team can get it done during their final homestand against the Red Sox. CTV's Rahim Ladhani is live outside Rogers Centre this noon hour with more. Rahim.
Hey, Michelle and Nathan, good afternoon. Yesterday when we were here, there was all confidence and optimism, but what a difference 24 hours makes. There's a lot more nervous fans and a bit of trepidation after the Jays lost 4-1 yesterday to the Boston Red Sox, and it all really centers around one controversial play. It was the bottom of the second inning, and the Blue Jays looked poised to take the lead against the Boston Red Sox Tuesday night. The bases were loaded, and George Springer lined the ball down the third base line. But the umpire called it foul. Springer was perplexed, and a replay appears to show the ball stayed fair. However, since it's not a reviewable play, the game went on, and Springer struck out on the next pitch.
It's fair ball down the third base line. I thought it was fair. People in our replay room thought it was fair, and it's not a reviewable play. Sucks. It's 2 runs there, and it's 2-1 game.
The Jays' offense never recovered after that, the team going on to lose 4-1. To make matters worse, the New York Yankees won their game, which means New York is only 1 game back of the Jays for the American League East lead.
1 game lead over the Yankees with 5 to play. You would have, in some situations you would have taken it, and others it's like would have loved to have this sealed up by now. So there is lots to play for.
The good news is Toronto still controls its own destiny. Their magic number to clinch the AL East remains 4, meaning any combination of Jays wins and Yankees losses over the next 5 games would guarantee Toronto bypasses the wildcard series and advances straight to the ALDS. So, how are fans feeling?
Awful right now, but they're going to come through.
I'm confident in the Blue Jays.
Well, a little apprehensive, Still got a little work to do.
They always come back, or
Jays,
mostly always come back.
Our Jays are rocking it.
The Jays have now lost 5 of their last 6 games and will try to get back in the win column tonight. And they'll try to do that with Max Scherzer on the mound. First pitch just after 7 o'clock. And a reminder to all the fans that general sales for playoff tickets go on sale tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Reporting live, I'm Rahim Ladhani. Back to you both in studio.
Thank you, Rahim. U.S. President Donald Trump delivered his first in-person address in 7 years to the United Nations General Assembly yesterday. And he didn't hold back on his long-standing criticism of the organization.
What is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential. I've always said it. It has such tremendous, tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war. The only thing that solves war and wars is action.
The U.S. president also met with his Ukrainian counterpart on the sidelines of the General Assembly. Volodymyr Zelensky addressed the body today, sharing in part a similar message to Trump's.
During bloodshed, there isn't a single international institution that can truly stop it. That's how weak these institutions have become. What can Sudan or Somalia or Palestine or any other people living through war really expect from the UN or the global system? For decades, just statements and statements.
Zelensky urged UN leaders to take action against Russia, saying Ukraine was only the first country to face aggression from Moscow in the ongoing war. And Prime Minister Mark Carney is winding down his trip to the United Nations General Assembly, but still has more engagements on his schedule before he leaves New York. CTV's Colton Prale is there live now, where he's been covering Carney's trip. And Colton, President Zelensky addressing the United Nations after President Trump's comments on Ukraine. What was Zelensky's message?
It was one of pushing the United Nations and Western allies in general to do more faster on Russia. He wasn't just saying that the United Nations is toothless, and he did say that. He was more focused on the fact that he needs immediate support from Western allies. And it was an echo of what we heard from Donald Trump yesterday, calling on Western allies to do more to sanction Russia, to increase the pressure on Russia. And all of this is coming at a time where there was a very significant tonal shift from the U.S. president. Yesterday, in a True Social post, he said that he believes that Ukraine can win back the territory that they've lost and win this war. That's pretty significant for a president that up until recently has been talking for weeks about the need to find peace, oftentimes putting pressure on Ukraine to be the one to find that peace more recently, including some frustrations against Vladimir Putin. But either way, to shift from calls for peace to calls for Ukraine to win the war, a very, very significant tonal shift. And so what you're seeing today, the reception to both the message from Donald Trump, from Volodymyr Zelensky, this tonal shift, all is one of optimism from Western nations and an understanding that there does need to be more action to support Ukraine, but there is not an announcement yet of those actions. The Prime Minister, speaking last night, says he appreciated the tone that the U.S. president is taking. He highlighted Canada's contributions to Ukraine, especially on a per capita basis. But really the focus is being shifted towards the G7 finance ministers meeting. That's happening at the start of October. They are expected to advance secondary sanctions on Russia in that meeting. The Prime Minister said he had a little quick, brief aside chat with U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent yesterday, where they highlighted the need for that kind of action from that meeting. So the goalposts are moving a little bit, or the timeline for action is moving a little bit. But what you're certainly seeing over the last few days is, one, frustration at the way that the UN has been able to or unable to intervene in many of these global conflicts, and two, an acknowledgement framed in different ways by different leaders, but an acknowledgement almost across the board that reforms are needed and that the U.S. is not being able to effectively uphold its missions.
That is interesting. The Prime Minister wrapping up his trip to New York, but there's more on the agenda. Bring us up to speed there.
Yeah, so he spoke earlier this morning at a new summit around global security and ensuring the resilience of a global economy. He had a quick bilateral meeting with the leader of Jamaica. He is now heading back to Ottawa, but the diplomacy does not stop, because once he gets into Ottawa, he's going to be welcoming the Indonesian leader to Ottawa, and they're expecting to sign a deal later on this evening. So we'll see what that ends up being, but it doesn't stop for the Prime Minister in New York or in Ottawa. He continues to meet with foreign leaders today.
And it doesn't stop for CTV's Colton Frail, who's been following it all. We really appreciate it. He's live in New York for us. Have a great day.
Anytime.
Well, we're also tracking a tense situation playing out on a BC ostrich farm where around 400 birds could soon be culled. RCMP saying the farm's co-owner and her daughter were arrested and then released yesterday after refusing to leave the birds' enclosure. Social media posts and video around the farm have drawn global attention when a cull was ordered for roughly 400 ostriches after an avian flu outbreak was discovered. Many supporters remained at the farm yesterday, many of whom yelling at police on site. Let's bring in CTV's Scott Hurst with more on this story. Scott, what is the latest when it comes to the fate of these animals?
Well, so far the fight continues. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency has taken over a portion of the farm, and there has been a heavy police presence throughout much of this from local RCMP at the property, which is in Edgewood, British Columbia. That's in the West Kootenay region in the southeastern portion of the province that is east of Kelowna. That puts it into perspective for our viewers here in the Greater Toronto area, but it's still unclear exactly when this call might happen, as the owners and a groundswell of supporters are hoping for a last-minute miracle to save the birds. As you mentioned, Nathan, tense moments yesterday after two people who run Universal Ostrich Farms were arrested for refusing to leave the ostrich pen and then released. Here's more from the farm owner, her take on the arrest.
The only reason we were staying in there was not to obstruct. It was just to humanely continue to give these animals routine.
But Nathan, at this time, the farm appears to be running out of time. It's been fighting to save the nearly 400 birds for many months now, more than 9 months to be exact, after that avian flu outbreak in December. The CFIA says the ostriches could still spread a unique and more lethal strain of the virus. That's from the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and that is why it has ordered the call, Nathan.
And what about support? Are they getting a lot from the general public?
We've been seeing a lot of support at the farm. Supporters have descended on the property, and those trying to prevent the slaughter of the ostriches say the families who run the farm are being mistreated, and the ostriches, they say, are being unfairly targeted. The farm insists the birds are healthy and that their antibodies should actually be studied. The fight to save the animals has become the focus of multiple court battles, and the farm says it has now submitted an emergency court filing to once again try to delay this. Protesters, as I mentioned, have descended on the farm with signs posted around the property saying the world is watching or save ostrich science, SOS. Here's more from the owner once again and supporters who are trying to stop the call.
We've been trying for 9 months of clear communication of that these animals are healthy. Can we test them? That is it. Can we test them for virus? And that's been denied.
And they can't sleep. They're stressed. It's disgusting. It's like domestic terrorism from the government to the public, to the citizens. They are being terrorized.
And Nathan, the fight to save the ostriches has actually picked up international attention, gaining support from U.S. Health Secretary RFK Jr., who opposes the call. And now at the moment, officials have not confirmed exactly when this call might go forward, Nathan.
All right, CTV's Scott Hurst in the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
Well, another day, another chance of showers and risk of thunderstorms. It's been an unsettled week, and even though we will enjoy dry periods through the day today, it is mostly cloudy. It's also warm and muggy once again. Here's a look at today's highs right across the province, still feeling into the upper 20s. And as we make our way into Friday and especially into the weekend, the skies are going to clear and we will enjoy the warmth and some sunshine. So a good-looking weekend forecast is coming up. We'll take you through it on the other side of this break. You're watching CTV News at noon, and we will be right back.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400.
Well, as we turn our attention to the weather, have a look at our glorious skyline this hour. I think this says it all. It is cloudy, it's kind of soupy, it's humid. It feels pretty warm, actually. It's just, hard to enjoy it.
Yeah, that's the strange thing. You look outside, it looks so dreary. You would think it's cold out there, but it's actually not.
I mean, there is that. It's warm, it's humid, there's a lot of moisture in the air. That looks more like Gotham City, I think, right now than the city of Toronto. But if you're hoping to head out this afternoon, you don't necessarily need a warm jacket. You might need a waterproof one as we continue to see the chance of showers, the risk of thunderstorms for today. But if you're getting a little tired of this weather pattern, another change is coming, and the timing of it is pretty good. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. We've got some low cloud right now. We had a fair amount of fog again early this morning, yet you can't really see the city skyline there, can you? That cloud sticking around right through the morning hours. It has burned off a little bit, but yes, it is fairly active again today. We've got showers impacting some parts of southern Ontario, mainly west of here, but we're starting to see a few of those showers inch closer to us here in the GTA. Let's take a look at the satellite and radar, and you'll be able to see here the wet weather predominantly impacting the shoreline of Lake Erie, as well as Lake Huron, where we've got some thunderstorms rumbling. There's now a severe thunderstorm warning expanded to include the Wingham area, for example, northern Huron County. And yeah, a few of those showers are inching ever closer to the city of Hamilton, for example. Keep your eye on the sky for this afternoon with the risk of thunderstorms. Once again, the chance of showers is going to be with us through the day and through the overnight hours tonight and for part of the day tomorrow. So here's the forecast radar. Notice the rotation of this low and the spin. Looks like we're going to be into some wet weather at the very latest by this evening. Maybe some areas sooner than that. A couple of embedded thunderstorms expected once again. And then perhaps some nocturnal storms for us here in the GTA. You might wake up to the sound of thunder or heavy rain into tomorrow morning. It is another mostly cloudy day with sunny breaks. The chance of showers going to be there once again, but we gradually clear. And Friday, we expect a mix of sun and cloud followed by mainly sunny skies on Saturday. So that might be a nice change for many. It is currently 20 degrees in Toronto. It feels like 26. We're expecting very similar temperatures as we make our way into the evening hours tonight. So not a dramatic warm up this afternoon. Pretty much where we are is where we will be. Overnight tonight, this is quite warm again for this time of year, 18 degrees. Typically, we would be closer to about 10 for an overnight low at this point in September. Tomorrow at a glance, it's a 40% chance of showers and risk of thunderstorms. But again, improvements do come. If you're ready for some drier weather, Friday looks pretty good. The weekend, in my opinion, looks great. Temperatures in the low to maybe even mid-20s, up around 25 degrees potentially for your Sunday. So that looks great for enjoying some fall activities. And if you're not able to do that this weekend, early next week is looking pretty good too. That's the forecast for now. Michelle, back over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Well, here's an event to sink your teeth into. A restaurant on Dundas Street West is planning to give away 2,000 dumplings for World Dumpling Day on Friday, all aimed at celebrating Chinese culture. CTV's Jessica Smith is live at the restaurant with more. Jess, I'm sure you like this assignment.
Listen, they had me at dumplings, Michelle, but really and truly, it is such a celebration of culture and community and food. World Dumpling Day is on Friday, so we're here at Dim Sum King, and I've got two really special people here. I have Kelvin, the manager, the man, the myth, the legend of Dim Sum King, and I've got George with Hong Kong Tourism. Talk to me, George, about the importance of a day like this, celebrating culture, community, and the food that so many people love.
Food is a language, a universal language that everybody knows. In Hong Kong, dumpling is also known as dim sum, and it is not just a meal, but it is a celebration of being together, of sharing. So there's no better better way to celebrate the World Dumpling Day here in Toronto, which is very diverse and very food-loving city. So Hong Kong Tourism Board is giving away 2,000 dumplings, and each dumpling...
That's a lot of dumplings. That's a lot of dumplings.
That's a lot of dumplings, and each dumpling gives you a chance to win a trip for two to Hong Kong, courtesy of Cathay Pacific, to attend the Art Month in Hong Kong.
You had me at art and you had me at food. Calvin, I want to talk to you because 2,000 dumplings, that's a lot of dumplings.
That's a lot of dumpling, yeah.
Who has the best dumplings in the city of Toronto?
Dim Sum King have the best dumpling in Toronto.
So talk to me about the preparation because I'm sure it takes a lot of time to make all of these, but this is the one that we're giving away.
The one to give away. This one, and this one. That's the chicken dumpling. That's the shrimp signature dumpling. And that's the veggie dumpling. That's the pork stick, and this sesame ball. And that's the rice cake, and the hagao.
It just keeps coming and coming. So why did you guys want to do this giveaway? Because I know a lot of folks, it's busy in here right now. This place is absolutely bumping. But what is the best part about sharing dumplings with so many people and for free?
Yeah, because we want to celebrate the Dumpling Day for Hong Kong tourism to organize, and with the Cathay Pacific and the Dim Sum King, we want to share the dumpling for everyone to enjoy the Dim Sum dumpling. Yep.
I saw on your wall of fame when you first walk in, there's Patrick Dembski. So maybe one day I can end up on your wall of fame. But I want to ask you, George, come in a little closer here. When it comes to culture and community, why is a day like this so important? I mean, I have a deep love of all kinds of food. I know the Jamaican dumplings, the fried dumplings are fantastic, but there's something about these ones that really is so special.
Because again, like food is a language, it's a universal language, and Dim Sum Day, like this, a World Dumpling Day, is bringing people together, right? Like sharing a meal together. When you come to a restaurant and when you serve dumpling, it isn't just a meal, but then you're giving something. Dim Sum in Hong Kong means touch the heart in Cantonese.
You touch my heart. You know what? I'm gonna get myself some of these dumplings. We're gonna send things back into the studio, but we're getting ready for World Dumpling Day on Friday. 2,000 dumplings coming your way here at Dim Sum King. We'll send things back inside of the studio. I'm gonna try this one.
Yes.
And that one.
And that one.
And that one.
We'll try everything.
And that one. And that one. And that
Thank you, Jess. All right, we're going to take a short break. More news when we return. Happy eating. Dialysis is a life-saving procedure for patients with severe kidney disease, but it can have some severe side effects.
Our health reporter Pauline Chan has more on a massive new Canadian study to see if a new type of filter can help.
Frank Ansell bundles himself in a parka, heated blanket, and even gloves when he goes for dialysis 3 times a week.
I suffer from low blood pressure, high blood sugars, and I'm just exhausted.
His diabetes also complicates things, but Dr. Pavel Roshanov says many patients experience severe side effects.
Many people are itchy all over their bodies, so that's quite a bothersome symptom that patients tell us about. Many people have a difficult time sleeping, and they have restless legs at night. Many people are breathless in the days between their dialysis treatments.
In dialysis, the patient's blood is circulated through a dialyzer, a type of filter that removes toxins from the blood and rebalances some of the blood's chemicals. But a new type of filter is now available that promises to do that even more efficiently and filter out significantly more toxins.
And so in doing so, we hope that patients will feel better and live longer and stay out of hospital admissions for longer.
The study, led by London Health Sciences, is now recruiting some 4,800 participants across Canada.
We're conducting a large randomized control trial currently in patients who undergo maintenance, chronic maintenance hemodialysis.
The main problem is the cost of the newer filters, 3 times the cost of the current high-flux filters.
The cost to healthcare systems can pretty quickly build up, and dialyzer costs are routinely one of the top costs in a dialysis program.
So the researchers will be examining the range of benefits to patients. They hope to complete the study in 5 to 6 years. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Health Canada is joining the list of agencies pushing back against the Trump administration claims that link Tylenol to autism. Health Canada says there is no conclusive evidence that using acetaminophen during pregnancy causes autism. Acetaminophen is the active ingredient in Tylenol. It is recommended to treat pain or fever in pregnant women. Health Canada says it has been safely used by millions for decades, including during pregnancy. The European Medicines Agency and World Health Organization have also disputed Trump's claims.
For the first time in 30 years, RCMP officers are getting an update on their uniform shirts. The service says it's working to modernize the uniforms worn by its members, and it will be rolling out these new navy blue shirts on a province-by-province basis starting in Prince Edward Island next month. The RCMP says the process will take 18 months, and so some will still be wearing the original gray shirts for a while.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
New research shows Ontario's seen a 10% drop in sports-related brain injuries following the introduction of a law named in honor of an Ottawa teen who died from what's called second impact syndrome in 2013. The study found Ontario saw a 9% drop in sports-related traumatic brain injuries between 2018 and 2019. The study also found sports and recreation-related brain injuries are significantly more prevalent than previously thought. Rowan's Law, which was introduced in 2018 in honor of 17-year-old Rowan Stringer, sets out a framework for how coaches, trainers, and athletes should respond when a brain injury is suspected. For more on this, let's bring in CTV's Renee Rogers. Renee, what were some of the big takeaways in the report?
Hi, Nathan. Well, this report comes from Concussion Legacy Foundation Canada in partnership with CAMH. And as you said, it found a significant drop in the number of sports-related injuries, brain injuries, I should clarify, that could possibly coincide with new legislation. So it found a 9% reduction in sports-related brain injuries in 2018 and 2019 compared with 2016 and 2017. Now, as for why, researchers do stress these findings are preliminary and more study needs to be done. However, it does coincide with Ontario passing Rowan's Law in 2018, which is centered on concussions. And in fact, it became the only jurisdiction in Canada to have such a law. It is named after 17-year-old Rowan Stringer, a high school rugby player from Ottawa who tragically died in 2013 after sustaining multiple concussions. And Rowan's Law sets out requirements around when an athlete should be removed from sport and when they should return if they're suspected to have a concussion. The Concussion Foundation is pushing for other provinces to adopt similar legislation. Take a listen.
Ontario has absolutely been the leader in Canada on this, and at the recent FPT meeting in August, Minister Lumsden stood up and asked the other provinces to think about adopting Rowan's Law. And I'm pleased to say that we've already booked meetings with over a half dozen of the other provinces and territories. And so I'm optimistic about this trend and other provinces adopting legislation across Canada, which is absolutely needed.
Now, Rowan Law also makes the last Wednesday of every September Rowan's Law Day, which is, in fact, today.
And Renee, how has Rowan's Law in Ontario made a difference?
Well, it's made a difference essentially after being passed in 2018. It's looking like these concussion numbers could potentially be connected with it being passed. Now, the study also did find something else that was interesting, and that is that sports-related brain injuries overall, despite the drop, are a lot more prevalent than previously believed. It shows approximately 37% of brain injuries reported between 2010 and 2019 in Ontario hospitals were related to sports and recreation, tripling the 12% once believed. And of course, that's going to have far-reaching implications for health policy, mental health services, and injury prevention efforts across the province. The executive director of the Concussion Foundation says this isn't just a youth or elite athlete issue, and it's a widespread public health concern that needs more resources and education to hopefully prevent more preventable injuries.
All right, CTV's Renee Rogers was an update on Rowan's Law. Thank you.
You're welcome.
A new report raising concerns about a major slump in home sales in the GTA and the future fallout.
CTV's Beth McDonnell has more on the calls for urgent government action.
We haven't seen these levels ever since we started keeping sales records in 1980.
The housing market is going in a dire direction. That's according to Build, which speaks for more than 1,000 home building, development and renovation companies in the GTA.
We've had the worst August on record and the worst 12 months of sales on record.
It points to numbers showing new home sales, which are usually around 1,600, were down last month to just 300. That's a 42% decline since last August, an 81% decrease compared to the 10-year average. Build says it's spreading to other markets across the country too, and warns without action there will be serious ramifications.
Unemployment. We're estimating across the country potentially as many as 100,000 construction jobs could be impacted. In the GTA, around 41,000. For people who are looking to buy houses in the next couple of years, the real impact is they're going to see less choice, higher prices and more competition.
Build says a recent federal government initiative to create below-market affordable housing is a step in the right direction, but it's not enough to change the poor outlook. It's pushing for major tax relief.
In their fall budget, they need to be including an HST cut on the sale of new homes. Broad, not just limited to first-time home buyers. That will reduce the cost of an average home in the GTA by about $100,000.
It's a cut that would help some purchase a home.
It will definitely reach my housing goals.
If it went down like that and I was young enough, yes, I would buy.
It's not going to make a difference when my kids are looking at buying a house.
Despite the number of cranes around the city, Build says it can take a decade to complete a project. Adding right now there isn't much coming in the pipeline, while the cost of materials and labor don't have wiggle room.
The real levers that we have are the government taxes and charges, and all levels of government need to be considering the level of taxation that they're applying to new homes.
To get buyers off the sideline and generate economic activity. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
As Premier Ford orders more Ontario civil servants back to the office, similar changes on the federal level have thrown a wrench in Ottawa's plans to get rid of some of its real estate. A briefing for the minister in charge of government transformation says recent developments have undermined the goal of offloading half its office portfolio by 2034. Last year's budget projected a savings of nearly $4 billion over the next decade by reducing the federal office footprint. Now the government sees a savings of $2.5 billion by unloading just a third of its office space. The briefing states the original plan was affected by the growth in employees who need office space and the updated directive setting out how many days they have to be in the office.
Authorities in the UK have made an arrest in connection with a cyber attack that disrupted air travel over recent days. Last Friday, aviation company Collins Aerospace was hit, disrupting passengers who were set to take off from airports, including London, Brussels, Berlin, and Dublin. Some of those travel hubs have warned of some residual delays. Today, the UK's National Crime Agency said it had arrested a man in West Sussex on suspicion of Computer Misuse Act offenses. He's been released on bail, as officials say the investigation is still in its early stages.
Staying in the UK, Jaguar Land Rover has extended the closure of its factories until at least October 1st. They've been shut down since a cyber attack in early September that left operations paralyzed and smaller suppliers struggling. Britain's biggest car maker has 3 factories, which together produce about 1,000 cars per day. According to the BBC, the company is losing tens of millions of dollars each week, with many of its 33,000 staff told to stay home. Short break. More CTV News at noon when we return. The final trailer dropped today for the second Wicked movie.
You can't resist this.
Who could?
You know who could.
The last sneak peek at Wicked for Good brings viewers back to Oz. It tells the rest of the story of the original musical as the 2 witches, played by Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, find themselves on opposite sides of a fight for the land's future. Jonathan Bailey, Michelle Yeoh, Jeff Goldblum also make their returns. Wicked for Good hits theaters November 21st.
NASA says the flight taking a Canadian and 3 other astronauts around the moon is on track for launch next April and could potentially be moved up to February. London's Jeremy Hansen is among the crew for Artemis 2, which should last about 10 days. It's part of a mission that will return humans to the lunar surface for the first time in more than 50 years. That'll be pretty incredible.
Wow, it feels like it's been so long, but it's coming fast. Weather-wise, rain is on the agenda.
Yeah, so at the very least, some light showers through this afternoon could become a little steadier and heavier as we make our way into the night tonight. Once again, we have a risk of thunderstorms, starting to sound like a little bit of a broken record here, but that's the kind of week it is. One more look at the satellite and radar will show you where that wet weather is right now. It's still quite stormy along the Lake Huron shoreline, and it's quite unsettled along the shoreline of Lake Erie at this hour. Overnight tonight, this is very warm. Dare I say a bit uncomfortable for this time of year. 18 degrees for the low, and then tomorrow, 22 degrees, Humidex 27. We're still talking about humidity now at the end of September, and will be for another couple of days because look at this forecast. Temperatures in the low to mid 20s as we make our way into the weekend, and this time we might be able to enjoy it because clear skies are expected, especially for Saturday and for Sunday. Early next week, looks like the warmth is going to continue right into Tuesday for National Truth and Reconciliation Day. Nathan and Michelle.
All right, lots to look forward to. Thank you, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6.